Well, good morning and happy Tuesday to you. Thank you for your patience and giving me a day yesterday. So I know this is coming a day late this week, and Thanksgiving on the front end or on the heels of us as we speak, and so everything gets tight this time of year. So thank you for your patience of getting your lessons this week and this video. A few things before we jump in. First is, remember, if you did not go in and watch follow-up or respond to the follow-up questions from last video, you need to text me or email me those responses. You're going to be getting a text this week if you don't. These are mandatory. This is a part of training. It allows me to continue to make sure that we're all moving forward together. And I think I said this in the last video, we're only as strong as our weakest leader within student ministry, within any ministry in the church. And so we got to make sure we're all moving forward. So please don't not do it. Second thing is, if you are a high school small group leader, please make sure that you sign up for your November coffee talk. I just said this a minute ago, but with Thanksgiving, things get tight. So you really have the back end of this week, the front end of next week, and then one more week after that. So go ahead and jump on there. If you're having trouble, call Trina. She'll sign you up manually within my calendar. Lastly, I'm going to try to talk louder. This video, I had some requests. I kind of get into think mode and get quiet, and so I'm going to try not to do that, particularly when I turn and point to the board. So, well, let's jump in. In the last month of coffee talks with middle school small group leaders, I'm sure I'll hear the same with high school. There was this big question of, okay, now that I have my few, what do I do with my few? And let me real quick just define my few for you again. Your few should be a small, very small, no more than 5, no matter how big your group is. If you have more than 5, you and I have already started talking about what it's going to look like for your small group to split. We have a few situations like that. But your few are those select students that you are going to pay closer attention to and invest in, so that they know they have a person, not just a few people, not just a group of people. That's their place, but a person. Now, some of you that ask, can I also have some carryover because of different things in life with my co-leader's few? Absolutely. Or somebody's few from another group? Yes, absolutely. But you definitely, without a doubt, if I come to you next coffee talk and ask, how's it going with your few? I need to know that you have been doing more intentionality with those students than the other students in your small group. And so what does that intentionality look like? And I had this in a video a few weeks ago, but because it wasn't mandatory and because we didn't have follow-up, I want to make sure that you get this. And then I want to give you some contact rules with your few that I will also send out in this week's email so that you have those on paper. So here it is. I'm going to just walk through this quickly. The first, second, and third, you can see it begins to get, it's a different level of commitment each step that you go. But I want to walk you through it, because the first one all of you should be doing. That's what you signed up in Legacy Student Ministry to do. You signed up to show up predictably in the life of students. That's Wednesday nights. That's an event or retreat once a year. And they know, and the parents know, because we communicate that in parent meetings, we communicate that in the Flubbernutter, we communicate that in parent emails, that this is the role of a small group leader, to show up every Wednesday night, to hang out with students, pour into students, and then come at least one time a year to something else that we do. And I'm pretty sure all of you at this point have come to something. I think there might just be a few that haven't been able to yet, but you still have the spring semesters, you still have the summer semester. So you're showing up predictably. The things that are on the calendar for student ministry is a good way to think predictably. That's what you signed the 2-year commitment for. You're in on this. But you should definitely also, and this was a part of your requirement because we talked about your few, is somewhere be in the middle of 2. And that's also a requirement, that there is this showing up mentally. And I think this is important to grab. This is not necessarily another time that you're showing up in their lives. This is simply in the predictable times that you're there, you're actually there. And I think sometimes that's the harder part. You're coming off of work. You have families. You are busy. Your schedules are crazy. And Wednesday nights, student ministry is just a piece of those schedules. That's where you're serving. You are embodying the gospel within Legacy Bible Church by serving in student ministry. That's your serve piece. And so this is simply when you are serving that you're actually there. They know they have you for that 2 hours for middle school, hour and a half for high school. And so what does that look like? Well, I've given you the NAP. I think this acronym that I think will help you go, okay, what does it look like to show up mentally? The N stands for notes. This is throughout the night, in your small group time, maybe something they say to you during your pre-small group time, maybe as you as groups are serving together now with Give Hope Now, you see something in them where you hear them, where you watch them interact with other students, and you're constantly, you just have a page for one person of your few, and each person has a page or notes in your phone, and you're just jotting things down. Came to life serving today. I talked about grandmother and her cancer in small group. Talked about some drama at school and trying to figure out, what's what and how to encourage friends to deal with broken relationships. And they might not necessarily even be saying it just to you, but you're taking notes because that's your few. And you want to remember those things. You want to remember to follow up with them about those things, pray with them about those things, that they came to life serving, push them to serve more. So notes, you're mentally there. You're taking notes of what you're hearing within your few. Activities. I have a band competition, next week on Tuesday that I'm really nervous about because it's to qualify for regionals. Well, man, if you take a note of their activities and you know their activities, maybe a calendar. Hey, can you give me a calendar of your sporting events? Then you can follow up with them the day after their volleyball game or the day after their band competition. Go, hey, how did it go? And all of a sudden you were there mentally because you remember what they said. And they might not even have said it just to you, but it will speak volumes to them. And then thirdly, prayer. That you are praying with them. You are praying for them. And these things that you're taking notes of, the activities that they're doing. I shared this story in the last one. I think it's a good story. It's in your book, but there's a story of this girl who talks about having a test in her small group, and her small group leader takes notes, didn't say it directly to her. I think it was during prayer time. And so the small group leader every night, sits down for about 10 minutes before she goes to bed, and she does, some time praying for her small group girls. Well, she remembered when she looked at her notes that Susie had a test. And so she calls up Susie's mom, because Susie was in middle school, calls up Susie's mom and says, hey, Susie's mom, I would love to be able to pray for Susie. She talked about having a hard test tomorrow. I know she's stressed about it. Takes the phone, walks up to Susie, gives the phone, talks to Susie, and prays with her. And Susie, later on, as she's getting ready to graduate and is in her kind of senior dessert thing, kind of like we do here at Legacy as we send off seniors, she talks about that moment and how instrumental that moment was. And so showing up mentally is huge. That you're not just there physically, but you're also there mentally engaging. And then finally, the last piece is, one, you have to figure out with your life, with your schedule, with your family, but showing up randomly. I would encourage you to start with once a semester. show up to something that they're not expecting you to show up to. You have that sports schedule now. You have that band schedule now. You just show up, just out of nowhere, and you will make their year. I promise. Middle school or high school, it doesn't matter. You will make their year. I have about. I said I wanted to make these 10 to 12 minutes, no more. So I have about 2 minutes. I want to give you some contact rules. I'm going to put these in your email this week too, but I wanted to just remind you, here are the rules for your few, middle school and high school. This protects you, this protects the student, and this protects our student ministry. So please don't forget these. Your contact rules, middle school, when texting, it needs to be to the parents or both. The parents might give you permission to just text the student, and I really need you to go. Our policy is that you're in those texts too. This is very important. This really protects you and the student and our student ministry. So please don't fight this point. Just do it. It also, underlining point is it partners with parents very early on. It sets the tone for what we're trying to accomplish with partnering with families and parents. And then with middle schoolers, there should be no Facebook or social media. If they friend request you, just say something along the lines of, I just use my Facebook for personal use, for connecting with old friends and family, and just leave it at that. No social media for middle school. When you get to high school, you can text just the students, but once again, particularly if it's a new student, ask the parents first. Go through the parents and go, hey, I want you to know I'm their small group leader. I'm going to be texting them. Are you okay with that? And then social media, you need to be discerning. Definitely, if you're a female small group leader, no males on your social media, and vice versa, males with females. But if it's same gender in your small group, I think you need to be discerning. In today's world, it is a great tool to connect, but it can also be a tool in which can get us in a lot of trouble. And so we need to be smart, and we need to think through that. And so just be discerning. I'm trusting you on that piece. And then finally, face-to-face contact, one-on-one in public, always, unless you have gotten permission from the parent. Like I know some of you have taken one of your few to a Ranger game or done something like that with them, but the parents were full on board. You had a full-fledged conversation with the parent first, and so I'm okay with that. But please make sure the parents know. Don't take a student after Wednesday night and go get ice cream with them and then bring them back to to the house and they were supposed to be home 30 minutes ago or something. Like, talk to the parents first and let them know. And some of them might bring them up here early because they want to talk to you each week and things like that. And that's perfectly fine. Just check with the parents first. If you ever have any questions on, is this okay? Please text or call me first before you make the decision. But I trust you guys. I just want to help protect. There's a lot going on under the umbrella of student ministry. We have a lot of leaders, a lot of students, a lot of things happening. And I need to insert these things to help. How can we be effective in what we're doing so we're not just doing program? Because that's not what we want. But also, how can we protect you, the students, and our student ministry within Legacy Bible Church as a church as a whole. So, love you guys. I hope this helps. Your follow-up questions will be to you on Thursday. We'll see you Wednesday.